Hi, welcome to IELTS 9 Academic Reading, Test 1, Solutions. So we start off with an article on William Henry Perkin, who was an inventor who invented synthetic dyes. And the questions were provided in section 1, questions 1 to 7, where do the following statements agree with information given in reading passage 1? In boxes 1 to 7 on your answer sheet, write true, false, not given. Now, true means it's a factual information that agrees with the passage. False means it contradicts. Contradicts means it says something totally different to what is said on the passage. It may be the opposite or something else. Not given is where there is no clear information regarding the statement in the passage. Now, let's start with number 1. Michael Faraday was the first person to recognize Perkin's ability as a student of chemistry. So, when we're reading this passage, it becomes immensely clear that his talent and devotion to the subject were perceived by his teacher in the second paragraph, who encouraged him to attend a series of lectures given by the eminent scientist Michael Faraday. So although William Perkin attended a lecture by Michael Faraday, the first person to actually inspire him to attend such lectures, or first person who discovered his passion, was his teacher, Thomas Hall. So the statement number 1 is false because it contradicts this information. Let's look at question number 2. Michael Faraday suggested Perkin should enroll in the Royal College of Chemistry. So we follow on with the lecture provided by Michael Faraday. So question number 2 suggests that Michael Faraday told William Perkin to enroll in Royal College of Chemistry. Now we follow on with Michael Faraday in the passage, and we continue. Michael Faraday at the Royal Institution. Those speeches fired the young chemist's enthusiasm further, and he later went on to attend the Royal College of Chemistry, which he succeeded in entering in 1853 at the age of 15. Notice that in this section, they did mention Michael Faraday, and they linked him to enrolling in the college. However, the speeches only fired his enthusiasm. Nowhere in the passage does it explicitly state that Michael Faraday somehow advised him to enroll, or somehow had a conversation with William Perkin to attend, or in his speech did he point out to attend it explicitly. Neither does it say that Michael Faraday advised Perkin to go against enrolling in the Royal College of Chemistry. So he does not explicitly state to attend, neither does he say not to attend. In this passage, the only thing that is mentioned is him firing up the chemist's enthusiasm. So we can say that the information is not given. So let's move on to question number 3. Perkin employed August Wilhelm Hoffman as his assistant. So when we go on to the next paragraph, it's clearly stated that Perkin's scientific gifts soon caught Hoffman's attention, and within 2 years, he became Hoffman's youngest assistant. So in the passage, it's completely the other way around. Hoffman employed Perkin as his assistant, not Perkin employing Hoffman as his assistant. So question number 3 would be false. So let's move on to question number 4. So we talk about Perkin was still young when he made discovery that made him rich and famous. So when we continue this paragraph, we do notice that in the next page, right at the bottom, it's mentioned Perkin's fame was achieved and fortune assured by his first discovery. So if we read the previous para in the previous page, we'd read that he discovered the coal tar and he converted it into a dye. But in essence, the fact is confirmed in the next page where they mention that Perkins' fame was achieved by his first discovery. So the information given would be regarded as true. Let's move on to question number 5. The trees from which quinine is derived only grew in South America. So if we read the passage, at the time quinine was the only viable medical treatment for malaria. The drug is derived from the bark and the cinchona tree, native to South America. Now, when you read the word native to South America, it means that it's originally or at home to South America. It does not say whether the tree does not grow away from South America, nor does it say that it's only at home to South America. So the information would be stated as not given, because you can neither affirm the fact that it is originally only located in South America, nor can you actually infer from the information given in the passage that this is false. So the answer would be not given. So let's move on to the next part. Perkin hoped to manufacture a drug from a coal tar waste product. So if we move to the next paragraph, we notice that during his vacation in 1856, Perkin spent his time in the laboratory on the top floor of his family's house. He was attempting to manufacture quinine from aniline, an inexpensive and readily available coal tar waste product. So when you read the statement, hope to manufacture a drug from a coal tar waste product, he was clearly attempting to manufacture the particular drug from the coal tar waste product. So the information stated in number 6 would be deemed true. So let's move on to question number 7, where it stated that Perkin was inspired by the discoveries of the famous scientist Louis Pasteur. Now, at the bottom of the page, we can see the name of Louis Pasteur. He finally produced a deep purple solution, and proving the truth of the famous scientist Louis Pasteur's word, chance favors only the prepared mind, Perkins saw the potential of his unexpected find. So, in this section, it's clearly linked, his discoveries linked to Pasteur's word. However, it does not state whether Pasteur's words actually inspired him to make the discovery. Neither does it state whether Louis Pasteur's words had no influence at all to inspire him to discover. So it could be that Perkins actually did know Louis Pasteur, but it's not mentioned. Neither is it mentioned that he actually was directly inspired by his words. So the information is not given because you cannot clearly understand Louis Pasteur's impact on his discovery. It's just stated that Louis Pasteur's words were proven by Perkin, nothing to do with inspiration. So the answer here would be not given. Let's move on to questions 8 to 13, where it is stated that choose no more than 2 words from the passage for each answer. So, when we're looking at question number 8, before Perkins' discovery, with what group in society was the color purple associated? So in the first paragraph, we have, indeed, the purple color extracted from a snail was once so costly that in society, at the time, only the rich could afford it. So the rich could afford it. in society at the time, only the rich could afford it. So clearly, the color purple was linked with only the rich part of society. Now, you can only use no more than 2 words. So in this case, we would just go with the word rich. So let's look at the next question. What potential did Perkin immediately understand that his new dye had? If you look at the next paragraph, the last part includes, but perhaps the most fascinating of all Perkin's reactions to his find was his nearly instant recognition that his new dye had commercial possibilities. So, the word had commercial possibilities is the instant recognition that he had. So what potential did Perkin immediately understand? He understood that the dye had commercial possibilities. So commercial possibilities would be your answer. Let's move on to number 10. What was the name finally used to refer to the first color Perkin invented? Finally used to refer, not the initial name, but the final name that was decided to call his color. So we read, Perkin originally named his dye Tyrian purple, but it later became commonly known as mauve, from the French for the plant used to make the color violet. So initially his name was called Tyrian purple. However, it later became commonly known as mauve. So what's later is actually linked with the word finally called. So the answer would be mauve. So let's move on to number 11. What was the name of the person Perkin consulted before setting up his own dye works? So we move to the next line where it says, he asked advice of Scottish dye works owner Robert Puller, who assured him that manufacturing the dye would be well worth if the color remained fast. So who did he seek advice from before setting up his own firm? It was, if you move on to the end, it says that, so over the fierce objection of his mentor Hoffman, he left college to give birth to the modern chemical industry. So basically, he asked advice of Robert Puller, and then he had an objection with his mentor before he left on to set up his own factory. So, the name that's clearly linked with the series of events is Robert Puller. Thus, the answer is Robert Puller. Question number 12. In what country did Perkin's newly invented color first become fashionable? So, if we look at the next paragraph, it's mentioned that the company first received a commercial boost from Empress Eugenie of France when she decided the new color flattered her. Very soon, mauve was a necessary shade for all the fashionable countries in the country. Not to be outdone, English Queen Victoria also appeared in the public wearing a mauve gown, thus making it all the rage in England as well. So the question clearly stated that in what country did Perkin's newly invented color first become fashionable? It did become fashionable in England, but before that, it was fashionable in France, where the Empress Eugenie adopted it first. So the answer would be France. Now, question number 13. According to the passage, which disease is now being targeted by researchers using synthetic dyes? So, if we consider this question, let's look at the last part. And in what would have been particularly pleasing to Perkin, their current use is in search for a vaccine against malaria. So his synthetic dyes are actually being targeted by researchers to find a cure for malaria. So the answer here would be malaria. Thank you for watching, and take some time, 20 minutes, for solving the next section.